All right, well, this is really exciting and it's also really validating. Everything people are talking about here, you're going to see in our presentation and hopefully a little bit more, but it's really cool to see so much energy in the industry working in this direction. We're going to talk, it's a little bit about like what you were talking about in the Goldbeck presentation around cross-value innovation, and we're really focused on vertical integration. How do we break down all the fragmentation in the industry? And how do we bring that together in a way more efficient way where we have true transparency to waste, value creation, and how everybody's working together. So very recently, as in a few months ago, we looked at our company and said, wow, we are working on a lot of exciting industrialization efforts, whether it's in data centers, multifamily housing, energy storage, solar, and they're being done in silos. And we pulled those all together and we formed a team, the I4 team, which is really talking about the fourth industrial revolution. And of course, we're looking at disrupting what's next as well. We've only got 12 minutes, so we're going to focus just on the multifamily housing and what we're doing there. So Nate, you're going to start joining me here. So we're really looking at vertical integration. I think one difference maybe with us is we have a captive development company. And so we're looking at things from development, design for manufacturing and assembly, supply chain, the actual in-house manufacturing, and then the ultimate assembly on the site. We have dabbled a little bit in property management and owning and operating facilities long-term, but that's an area we'd like to expand in.
So I'm Nate Haack. I'm the Vice President overseeing our manufacturing and supply chain efforts. So a little bit more about the DfMA. We've talked, several presenters have talked about it already, but this is where we're leveraging the best-in-class manufacturing practices and applying them to construction. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. And then digital integration. You know, what we realize is that we have all these different technology platforms, and we're trying to figure out how to streamline the design process as well. And so leveraging those technologies and putting them on one platform to eliminate the multiple creation of the same document just in different platforms. So a little bit more about the DfMA process. So we talked about leveraging manufacturing practices. We don't believe that we can do that just with construction personnel. So we went out and hired many people from the manufacturing industry. We started talking about manufacturing engineers and plant managers and operation managers, not superintendents and foremen. They great skill sets out on the production or out on the construction side. But in the manufacturing facility, what we found is by merging the construction methodology and manufacturing is where we're able to optimize our throughput. So we take things and we start talking about things like bills of materials, you know, shop drawings, tack times, and we build prototypes within our factory where we look at the inefficiencies or the bottlenecks that it creates in our factory. Then we change the design so that we maximize the throughput through the factory. Several people have also talked about the supply chain. We think about things like, we think about this building up here, this multifamily building as a product, not a project. It's a product with a bill of material with a set of components that we can then streamline through our supply chain and manufacturing. Another presenter talked about leveraging relationships with tier 1 manufacturers. We're doing the same thing through supply chain, developing those relationships straight with the manufacturer, cutting out the layers of markup that are in the process so that we can get to a better cost point for our customer. It also creates a lot of efficiencies because we're purchasing off-the-shelf components that our supply chain teams can repeatedly buy versus buying unique items every single project. And then we want to make it repeatable across our markets, right? So we want this same building to be built in the different markets that we serve. And finally, market flexibility. So I think when we started this process a couple of years ago, looking at a standardized design, I think our thought was that we would build one building and just repeat that same exact building in different markets. What we realized is we need to focus on configuration versus customization. And so based on the comps in the markets, there might be a need to have a higher percentage of 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom units compared to what we may be built in another market. So you can see on the right-hand side, we have studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedroom units that we can interchange based on the site conditions and based on the comps in the market, really giving us a lot of flexibility without increasing complexity for our supply chain or manufacturing folks.
Cool. And then when you have those components and they're standardized, you know exactly what they're going to cost. And so when we're trying to develop projects, the old process could take 3 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer than that, where you're looking at, okay, I've got a great site. Okay, what can I put on that site? Okay, now that I've identified that and paid someone to do that, now I need to find out how much it costs and does that have enough money left to afford the land to put the project on it. It's really lengthy process and doesn't allow for a lot of deal flow. And so, but once you've got standardized components, we know exactly what a studio costs. We know exactly what a 1-bedroom costs. We know exactly what a 2-bedroom costs. And we're able to go use generative design to go fit that on the site, figure out what it's going to cost, the value that we think it's going to be created. And we've actually developed a tool that integrates both the value creation side of a pro forma and the cost inputs from construction to be able to optimize and look at, is this a site that's worth advancing? So we've taken a process that was 3 to 6 weeks, very labor intensive from a supervisory mental capacity standpoint, down to 1 to 3 days using the standardized components and generative design. This is just showing a little bit of what's going on, but we take those components, use generative design, put it on the site. It runs, hundreds of iterations, finds the optimal mix of units based on what Nate was saying, what the market's demanding against what the size of the site is. And we're able to integrate all that in one. And it's getting pretty exciting. We're going from looking at maybe like 10 deals a year to looking at like 35, 40 deals a year. And so the ability to generate projects off of that, get reps in our factory is really advancing quickly. And then we've got improved project feasibility. And so this is an example of a project we're working on in Denver. Had a lot of issues, huge gap. So this was originally designed kind of a conventional method, and we've been literally generating this new process over the last few months. It was designed conventionally by an architect. We were having trouble getting the deal unstuck. The financials weren't quite there. And our developer in Denver came back to our I4 team and said, hey, could you guys just take a look at this? I feel like there's opportunity for improvement. We had issues with zoning. We had an encroachment easement problem. The financials, again, weren't working. It was feeling a bit like a Frankenstein. And so we ran it through the model, and within 3 days, we made massive improvements. We got rid of the entitlement issues. We got down to almost entirely standardized designs, and we improved the project feasibility by about $3.5 million. So like really exciting to see a case study live where you've gone the traditional method and then moved to an industrialized method and be able to see the direct benefit. That's it. So thanks for the time. Really excited to share this, and it's been fantastic. I've taken like 10 pages of notes from the prior presentations. So yeah, thank you.